we'll go ahead and have our weekly get-together, we'll call it, or press conference or questions. Natalie, any questions for the? We are now. If take a few minutes. Take a few minutes. Take your time.
My first question.
Could you go to the microphone?
Oh.
You get to go to the microphone.
Who are you?
Oh my goodness.
We know
this
who
is very
you are,
formal.
but we want everyone else to know too.
I'm Natalie Johnson. I'm a reporter with the Chronicle. Hold on just a second. So I have several questions. I hope I don't take up too much time. I don't think it would. About the 2017 budget amendment. I haven't had a chance to look into it in great detail, but a lot of them seem like they're projects that were continuing and that had been planned for several years. Generally, those are already included in the following year's budget. Especially the 911 center upgrades. Those have been going on for a long time, and the financial upgrades. Were those not expected?
Do we want Becky to?
Oftentimes, there's just a delay in the project, or the shipment didn't happen in time, so we have budgeted in 16, assuming that it would happen by the end of the year. But if the items, like in the 911 system case, were received in January, we have to account for them in January.
Okay, I understand. And then as for the additional amount of money taken from the ending fund balance, that doubles the amount that was taken in the 2017 budget, is that correct?
I'm not.
It was 1.9 million that was taken out to balance the 2017 budget originally, and this is another 1.9 million, is that correct?
Oh, no. So for the general fund, it was 1.9. So the difference that would be added to that is that 124,808 that was use of fund balance for the general fund. So you would
Okay.
add that 124 to the 1.9.
Okay, I thought in reading this that it was an additional 1.9.
For all funds. So those other funds outside the general fund, they have their own funding.
Their own fund
source.
balance?
Yeah, so when we
Okay.
referred to that 1.9, that was just the general fund piece of the,
For the 2017
Yeah.
budget? But this is out of their separate
yeah.
fund balances, okay.
Good questions.
And then I think we had a column about it in our Saturday edition of the paper, that the State Coalition for Open Government was going to be requesting public records regarding open public meetings issues, regarding our reporting on the 2009 resolution that allows the commission to be in session from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. every day. I was wondering if you were aware of that and if that was something you could comment on.
I don't know if we've received. I haven't checked this.
Yeah, I don't know if they've actually sent them yet. I just know that they're planning on investigating it. Is that something that any of you were aware on, or would like to comment on?
I was not aware until I heard about that was in the paper.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I know I think Mr. Nixon, Toby Nixon, who's in charge, or maybe I don't know what his particular position is, director or whatever. He is, I think, a Kirkland City Council member, and he's also has done some testimony on our public disclosure to the two bills that are in the legislature. So I've seen him from those perspectives, but I have not talked to him or heard from him. I don't think the other folks.
Okay. And then one last thing, just for my own clarification, the building on Airport Road's the big blue one, right?
Yes.
The former slaughterhouse thing? Okay.
Yes, that's the one.
That's what I thought. Thank you.
I'll be so glad to have that one
Thank you,
down.
Natalie. Sharon, the one thing, I'm trying to get a clarification there. You were talking about specifically about if the junior taxing district wants to run a bond or levy or anything like that. Is that what you were referring to as far as being able to fund the centers? Is that?
I was curious whether the legislature had been contacted about.
Yes.
They had been, yes.
And they said no to you, that you could not run a tax like you did for the drugstore?
What I heard,
Said no.
yeah, what I heard was from some transition team members from the senior centers that went and spoke to the legislators, and they made that decision. I haven't been to a transition meeting to hear that communication about why that occurred.
The only thing at the one meeting that we had in Toledo was they were referencing as far as being nonprofits being able to basically not have to be exempt from certain services on that as far as buildings. But I think,
Okay,
yeah, go ahead.
So again, Danette York, Director of Public Health and Social Services, and I don't know if this will help clarify it, but I believe what you're speaking about is being able to, the commissioners having the authority to implement a special sales tax similar to the mental health, chemical dependency, and therapeutic 0.1% sales tax. The legislature has to specifically allow that, and they designate what that sales tax would be for, and it's not just our representatives such as Senator Braun or others, it's the entire legislature would have to do that, and they have not done that for a senior program.
But I'm asking, which of our legislators said no?
Well, all of them.
Bringing it up.
I mean, it would have to be a bill dropped by one of the legislators and then go through the entire process. I don't know that anyone has asked any legislator to do that specifically for a sales tax. What they were talking about was trying to get a junior taxing district, and they were told that that was not the best route to go because it would be very limited as to the amount of funding that it even could bring in if it was to pass, and chances of it passing were very slim.
and I think I just remembered the two transition members that told me about their contacts with the legislature, and that was Lynn Ford and Liz
Elizabeth Hicker.
Hicker.
Yes.
That went up there to talk with them specifically on that. We've been following another bill in the legislature that was about not taxing senior centers or community centers, and that was making its way through the House and Senate.
Which would?
So that would make it available.
And that was for property taxes,
Yep,
correct?
property taxes,
That,
yep.
that would be that if the centers are owned, they would not, outside the county, they would not necessarily have to receive bills for property taxes if they became exempt.
Apparently, there was a senior center up in Tacoma or Seattle that it's on its own and was doing well, and then a property tax bill arrived, which was very exorbitant for them and could not, it was outside of their budget, and they went to the legislature, and there's a fix going on.
Yes, and the transition team did actually have Diane Dory come as one of their speakers to one of their meetings, and she explained the taxing district and how a junior taxing district would work. She's the one that said that it was very, very slim chance that something like that would be able to be passed. And then she talked about the ability of a nonprofit to look at the pros and cons of trying to become tax exempt for property taxes, because it may be more beneficial to pay the property tax so that they could fundraise and raise a larger amount of funds rather than trying to be tax exempt. So that was very good information for the transition team to have, and that's what part of what led them to make the decision to go under a nonprofit.
Okay, thank you.
Ron Averill from Centralia, and former county commissioner. I want to talk to that junior taxing district because I think that some folks may not understand the implications that are involved there. But junior taxing districts get their money basically from property taxes. So if you use this as a funding process, the problem is that we've got a large number of these junior taxing districts. You got public utilities, you've got the school districts, you've got the fire districts, and all of these. And there's a set formula that you have on property taxes. Once you reach that top of that formula, Unfortunately, all of the taxing districts are in a pecking order, and the ones at the bottom, if you don't have enough money, start losing. And in fact, Fire District RFA had to go for a special thing because they had run out of money in that district. So the chances of and interestingly, one of the more important small districts that we have is our flood zone district, and it's currently at the very bottom of the pecking order. And so if we have problems with our property taxes, their primary source of funding would go away. That's not a good option. And Sharon, on the idea of the 1/10, the property tax, we've talked about this a number of times in the past. The property tax that we're getting the 1/10 of 1% on for chemical dependency, mental health, and the courts is really a state tax, which we get. That one we actually add it to our own local tax. But we're limited in things that we can do that for. The city of Centralia just passed one for a transportation district, but those are all set in law, and that's what the Commissioner Fund is talking to. Until the legislature says you can form that type of thing, and someone has to submit that bill, you can't do it. So, and unfortunately, those taxes also have to go to the voters, which is a big stumbling block in this area. Well, I know you were talking about the latter one, which requires special legislation.
Okay, any other questions or comments?
I was going to make a comment, if there's no one in the audience, regarding the legislature, what's happening up there for us. I've mentioned previously that indigent defense, there's not going to be any relief this year. And last year was 1.2 million. This year it's 1.5. Last year we received 200,000, and so we had to spend $1 million out of our general fund for that. There's no relief for jail medical. We dodged a bullet regarding a Department of Corrections and the way they were going to be sentencing people, filling up our jails instead of going to Department of Corrections. Sheriff Snaza lobbied on that bill and said we just can't take, our jail costs us about $7 million a year. We get about $2 million coming in from other areas like Mason County, Thurston County, but if we were filling up our jails, we could not get that revenue. If we had to totally fill up our jail, we'd have to add more staff, so it would cost more than $7 million, but thanks to Sheriff Snaza to being up there and talking about it. We're concerned about the ballot box bill, and there's a second bill out on that. We want people to have access to vote. We want that for everyone. However, that bill is more for a very urban area. And when you look at Lewis County, if you look at anything that looks like a town, zip codes, etc., we would have to have a ballot box in Mineral, Packwood, PL, all those places. Currently, we have ballot boxes in Toledo, in Morton, at the Senior Center in Centralia, at the Star Complex down the road, and at Centralia College. And they can always, mail their ballot, or they can bring it right to the auditor's office. These additional ballot boxes are an unfunded mandate. Our auditor estimates it's about $7,000 for each ballot box. And that's just the outlay, initial outlay. Then we're looking at, you would have to have individuals going to each ballot box, and it's not just at election night, because we have to have it, 8 o'clock, they have to be closed, and that's good, but 2 volunteers need to go there, but we have to go throughout the election cycle out there. And when Larry took a look, our auditor looking at this, it would take many more people. We'd have to hire people to go. Somebody suggested, why don't you just have volunteers go pick up the ballots? No, we can't do that. People remember the Rossi Gregoire election when they're, we just have to be very clean. We have to have trained people out there picking up those ballots. And I think he said it's like 294 miles to do a round robin to pick up ballots during the year. So it is an unfunded mandate for us. If they could look at, the rural nature and what we can do for people to make sure that their ballots are submitted. So we like it that people can vote. The other piece is how do we implement it in a very rural county?
And I believe we have 17 different zip codes in Lewis County, so each one of those would require a ballot box. So it'd be very, very difficult. So, not that we wouldn't want that, but it's
Yes.
just a,
Yes, we're told to do it, and there
Dollars
you
and
go out
cents.
of your general fund again.
and I know that Larry Grove has, and I think worked with us. We like the idea of getting ballot boxes out to rural areas. That's for no question about it. I know that we've added some to Toledo, and of course the last two are Toledo and Morton. However, that's stretching it pretty thin right there on the resources. So anyway, we'll see where it goes next.
Any questions on that?
Sharon?
Was there any kind of a study in terms of having the ballot box at Toledo that it increased the number of Toledo votes? And if so, by how much?
That's a good question to ask. I know we've had a lot more go into ballot boxes, but we can take that
We'll
question
get it.
to Larry.
We'll contact Larry for our next, we have our next meeting. We'll get some information out next week then for that.
And it was interesting for our Star Complex that they had to continually, during the last election, empty it because people were using that. And here a block away is the courthouse. But the drive-through, just to be able to drop it off is very attractive to people.
The second question, how much would it cost to have prepaid envelopes to send it back in terms of what the cost would be on a yearly basis?
Another question?
Another good
That'd
question.
be another question for Larry. We'll write it down.
I guess number of
I-
average voters times stamps.
I do know that,
Pick them up, unless they were all picked up right at 8 o'clock, you can extend the balloting time.
Yeah, we can't do that.
I do know that even though the ballot does not have enough postage on it, it will be delivered to the courthouse.
No, I'm talking about the pickups.
Yeah.
If you're talking about picking up the boxes, they're not all picked up at 8 o'clock, then you will allow extended voting, and wherever you don't pick it up at 8.
So what they do many times is lock the box. And so nobody can put anything in. Yep. Mhm. Yep. Yep.
So Sharon, maybe we can get some procedures there, what the auditor does exactly as far as, and then kind of get some information out to everyone, because it is kind of interesting.
Yes.
And
Larry Grove has done a.
You just don't, 8 o'clock, that's when you have to have your ballot in. Well, if you're up in Morton at 8 o'clock, you have to be there to close that box off. So procedurally, it'd be very interesting to see exactly what Larry does to ensure the security of those.
I had an interesting inquiry. Somebody who was running for a statewide office, but from another county, dropped their ballot in one of our ballot boxes. And I found out, yes, it would be counted. It would go up to whatever county it was from, but it was there by 8 o'clock. So if you drop it off in Seattle, your ballot for Lewis County, it will be counted in Lewis County.
I didn't know that.
I was surprised.
So, okay, are there any other questions or comments? Commissioner Jackson?
Not today.
Okay. Well, thank you
Thank you,
for being
everyone.
here. Thanks for the questions and.
Thanks for coming from DC.
Yes.
You are invited to immerse yourself in the beauty of nature in all four corners of Lewis County, Washington. From our fields to your table, farms in the west share their bounty. Limitless landscapes, forests and mountains beg to be explored in the east. fish our many rivers and lakes in the South, and discover where history and culture intersect in our Twin Cities. Explore it all by visiting our Facebook page and plan your next getaway at discoverlewiscounty.com. Culture, history, and adventure all come alive when you discover Lewis County.